Hi everyone, I'm Shravani. Warm welcome to all of you in Crypto Innovation webinar interview series. Today is part 5 and the topic is Simple Cryptography Solve Biggest Enterprise Risk Password. Digital transformation is the integration of digital technology into all areas of business, fundamentally changing how you operate and deliver values to customer. Digital transformation is reshaping identity management. Managing identity is no longer a back office IT and compliance function. It is an essential business enablement function at the heart of digital economy. Managing identity is more complex and resource intensive than ever. 81% of the data breach are caused by weak and reused passwords. To keep our information secure, you need a strong, unique password for every account. But what will happen if password will retire? So let's find out all these from our guest today, Mr. Ajit Hatti. He is a founder of Pure ID. He has over 15 years of R&D experience in InfoSec and crypto implementation. He co-founded Null Security Community and NullCon InfoSec Conference. He's the author of Llama and Gibersen tool for crypto audit. Previously, he worked with Citrix, Symantec, Emerson, and IBM. He is regular presenter at Black Hat and DEF CON. Welcome, Ajit, to our Crypto Innovation series.
Yeah, thank you, Shravani. It feels great to be here. Thanks.
Okay, so before we are going for the discussion on the biggest risk at that is the password, I would like to know what identity means to you in general. Like, what is identity? We're not talking about digital identity or anything, just identity.
Okay. So identity is very vast. I mean, previously we have seen people discussing what identity is and how complex it is to define. As far as Pure ID is concerned, we define identity as association. That I'm associated with this company, that's my identity. I'm associated with BSCI, that's my identity. Okay, so we are just limiting the definition of identity to association. Okay, and
okay, Ajit, just a minute. I'll have a quick check with the audience. Audience, please
sure.
give me if you can listen to us and see us. Please send into the. Okay, great. I think they can see us.
Okay, yeah, and okay, they can hear us as well. Okay.
Yeah, they can hear us as well. Yes. Okay, great, great. Thank you so much. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. So for us, identity is very simple. So wherever I go, I just tell, hey, I'm his friend, and I get in, right? So it's the same way. Association, so we feel association is the identity, and that is what we would like to work on. Keeping it simple.
Okay, so yeah. So what is when we are talking about the digital transformation, the digital identity is commonly used, right? So we talk everywhere. Right. So what exactly do you mean by digital identity? How you will define it?
Okay, so when we were working to solve this password problem, we needed an alternative that we have to have something to identify people, right? So we will,
right.
We thought that we will have association as your identity, but then now what do you mean by association? Okay, so it has to be, yes, used in digital world. So it has to be digitally verifiable, digitally provisionable, revocable in many cases, right? Validatable. So yeah, I mean, you should be able to do anything and everything with it. What you can do with all digital assets, except for not to replay, not to tamper with it, right? Yeah, not to forge it, etc. So with those all constraints being there, we wanted to have a digital definition of identity, which is verifiable, validatable, and more such security aspects to it.
So it is ourselves or presenting ourselves in the digital world or in the computer on the internet world. We can say that.
No, it is representation of your association. I am associated with, say, Pure ID. I should be able to just prove that. Okay, it doesn't matter who I am or what I am, what's my history is, where I was born, etc. No, whether I am right now associated with Pure ID and this association is verifiable and valid. That's it. So for us,
Okay.
identity is a very, very narrow thing, very, very well defined and very, very narrow thing. That's it.
No, but when we talk about the enterprise level digital identity, what is the existing identity model? I mean, it is not like there should be some model present in the digital world, right? When we are talking about digital identities.
Right. So in the current enterprise scenario, the identities are distinct. Okay. For each person, you will find at least 4 to 5 different identities being used. Okay. So
Okay.
precisely identity instruments. Okay. Now, when an employee is entering into the premises, he has to access the doors. So he has an access card. Okay. So if there are
Mm-hmm.
physical security personnel like guards, etc. So they will see
Hmm.
your ID card. Okay, so you have access card, ID card. Then once you sit on your laptop, when you are accessing your applications, etc., then you have passwords, right?
Hmm.
So if those applications are critical, then you have two-factor on it, right? So you have a two-factor along with your password. If you are accessing some servers, then you have keys, okay, UB keys,
Okay.
etc. Right? So you have
Okay. Okay.
a single person has at least 4 to 5 different identity instruments, right, to prove his identity to different people, right? So
Okay.
this
So it's
is
not
what
a
we are
single
being using.
identity.
No, no, no. So everyone understands identity in different way, and that's the reason you have different instruments to identify yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are the problems you can say in the existing identity model?
Yeah. So since identity is fragmented between all these different instruments, an enterprise has to manage all these. Okay. And each one of these are managed by different groups. So if there is any movement of employees in and out of the company, they have to coordinate with each of these instrument management team to enroll identity or to disable the identity. You have to track each of them, right? So that increases your cost, it increases the complexity, plus it increases the burden of a person. He has to manage or juggle between all these identities, right? Identity instruments. So he has to carefully carry them. So now you have like 4 or 5 things to worry about, right? And out of that,
Hmm.
UB keys, etc., are very, very small and tiny things to carry. And if there are two people having the keys, if you just misplace them, you don't know whose keys is which one. So yeah, I mean, it's not convenient for users. It's not even convenient for the enterprise. Okay, enterprise
So it
don't
is
see any option.
not suitable with the increasing digitalization. Do you say that?
So we are living through it, but we don't see them as pain. Okay, because
Okay.
that's how the things have been. Okay. But if I say, if I can simplify, consolidate all the identities into one instrument, I mean, would the enterprise like it or not? That's the question.
Okay. So let's limit ourselves to enterprise level identity. And so, do you think that we need a different identity model? So you are constantly using some term which is called as association identity. So
Right.
is there any term like what is this term identity? Association identity.
Okay, this is something we have named our innovation. So we have
Okay.
invented a way to prove your association with an identity or affiliation with the company, right? And that we do by means of cryptographic constructs and some various factors. Okay, we will discuss more about it when we progress through this session. So
Sure.
we termed it as association-based identity. So we just prove that I am associated, currently associated, validly associated. If I can prove you that, then what I expect is you extend me the privileges which I am entitled to.
Okay, so when you have thought about this association identity, and so what exactly comes in your mind? What exactly it is, and what parameters you considered for this association? Is it different from the existing identity model?
Yeah, it is different. I mean, if you allow me, I would like to show something on my slides that I have. Is it
Sure,
okay?
sure. Yeah, yeah, sure. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Fine. So let me. Uh,
I would like to tell audience, please, you can start asking the questions. We are not having the special dedicated time for audience. Audience questions are throughout this session. So please, you can ask your questions whenever you feel. Yeah, Ajit,
Right.
please go
Right.
ahead.
Right. Okay, so yeah, so this is how our proof of association works. Okay, so user's identity, it goes on an app, okay, on his phone, and that phone carries a few of these factors. That is signatures. Okay, so signature is something which is signed by his employee and given to him, employer and given to him. Okay, and then we have users basic info, we have seed, we have device fingerprints, etc. So all these combined together, okay, forms an identity instance. Okay, now this identity instance is submitted
Okay.
to a authentication platform wherein these signatures are verified. Okay, so token is regenerated to validate the token, whether the token is
Mm-hmm.
correct or not. Okay, and after that, the device fingerprints are matched to see whether these factors are coming from the phone on which we had established these factors. Okay, so when everything is correct,
Mm-hmm.
okay, then we authorize, and we also check for authorization, what resource a person is requesting for. Okay, and if he's authorized to access
Mm-hmm.
that, then we give him the access. Okay, so this is how the proof of association based authentication works. But if you ask me how we define identity, there's some combination of these signatures, users info, a token, and a device fingerprint that defines your digital identity. And this changes every instance. Okay, because this has a token, so it changes every instance. If you want to see that in action, I can show you that.
Yeah, yeah, sure. So, but we have our question from the audience. Abhilash is asking, what is the trust model? Does it use a
Mhm.
blockchain or enterprise need to have a CA, or you are using any other model?
Okay,
Thank you,
so
Abhilash.
yeah, thanks for this question. We don't use blockchain, uh, and we trust the public key provided by an organization. Okay, and we verify that key. So if an organization says that I am DSCI, okay, we verify them by their domain keys. Okay, with their domain keys, we expect them to sign authorization keys. Okay, so we just do that, and that is a scalable thing. We can verify anyone right sitting from here. We can verify anyone across the world. Okay. We don't have to have blockchain for this, just to overcomplicate things. We want to keep it simple. Any organization should be able to manage their own credentials, and we should be able to trust when the trust is established based on the public keys which they provide us, right? So that's the trust model that we have. Does that answer?
Okay. Yeah. Also, Utpal is asking one more question. Will you provide any certificate?
To whom? Certificate to users. Okay. Once I show you the demo, things might be clearer. Okay.
Right.
So
So we
yeah.
will have couple of questions based on your model. What you have shown here is so you are using signature, right? So
Right.
how the cryptography is helping to solve the problem of like identity in general? We are not talking about your model, but in
Mhm.
general, how it is helping.
Right. So how we see it is, if I have to prove my association, then it's not me who is saying that I'm associated with DSCI or Pure ID. It's the organization who should
Mhm.
say that Ajit is associated with us. And how best they can say is, they can take my basic information, that name, designation, department, etc., and they can sign it using the private key. Okay. Now this information and this signature, I can present it to anyone. If they can verify this using the DSCI's public key, then it is verified. Okay. So that is
So
only
that
verifiable.
means yeah. So that means the cryptographic role here is the public key cryptography that you're going to use.
Exactly. So we will be using PKI,
Okay.
plus we'll be using more constructs as well. PKI is just to prove the verifiability, right? There are other things like validation, etc., which we will be solving with the other things.
Oh, somebody,
right?
is there a presentation or limited to question answer? No, there is a presentation. We are going ahead, but in between we are taking some of the questions relevant to the slides, or something you wanted to ask. It is not like we are not devoting some time separately for the question and answer. You can ask in between.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yes, Ajit, please go.
So yes, to answer your questions, I might use the slides, or I might give the demo of the product. So
Correct,
yeah,
correct.
it should be question driven. So that's what I would like
Yeah, it
if
is
that
all.
happens.
It is like a question driven. Correct. So Ajit, I would like to know like which cryptographic algorithm you are using. Is it specific
Okay,
like or
yeah. So for signing the employee's credentials, we are using elliptical curve ECDSA cryptography,
okay. So go ahead.
right? So I will show you. Okay. So
Okay.
this is a user's phone. Okay, and this is a VR5 app that we have. Okay, and here is another phone. So this is my phone. This is a simulated phone. Okay. So this phone of a user, so this user belongs to Pure Bank, okay, or he's affiliated to Pure Bank, okay. So this is called as a profile. So I can go into profile and I can check his various identity descriptions. So this is a corporate identity description of this user, okay. This is description of his name, designation, etc., department, and you can see there is a signature. Okay, so this
Right.
data set is matching the signature which has been signed by the Pure Bank. Okay, similarly, it has personal information. Okay, which has his contact details, which this doesn't have, or this is a social ID or social description of his association, which has a bit more information, which previous two were not having. Okay, now if this person has to prove his identity, okay, to a person or to an application or anything, okay, how he will do is,
Right.
I will show you how it works. If suppose he wants to prove his corporate identity to us, okay, so he has to generate an identity instance. Okay, this is an instance. Okay, now anyone can verify with a similar app. Okay,
Okay.
so yeah, so now I scan it, and so
Yeah.
here is the identity of that person. Okay, so here
Correct.
is a verified identity. Now, why this is verified? Here are the verification steps you can see. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this is the hash of the data. Is the same data which we had seen. Okay, this is hash of the data.
Okay.
This is the signature which is signed by the Pure Bank. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we fetch the Pure Bank's public key. This is the public key. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and now with this public key, what we do is we decrypt the signature, and this decryption should match this hash of the data.
Right.
If
Correct.
uh, if this verification matches, it means the this content is same as what Pure Bank has signed. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so you can see the scheme. Scheme is ECDSA, and the hashing was SHA-256. Okay, and also there is a 2FA instance, or there is a token which is generated from the seed.
Right.
Okay, so that makes this identity ephemeral. Now, if I scan the same QR again, okay, so I will go back. I will scan the same QR again. Okay, you see the QR has expired,
Okay. It's bad. Right.
right?
Correct.
So yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
this is an identity instance. Okay, now if I go back and if I generate again, okay, and now if
Mm-hmm.
I scan it, you can see it's all good,
Yeah.
right? Now,
So how much time
what
it
if
will
I,
remain? Right?
okay, so this is configurable. We have configured for 20 seconds. Okay, now you can use
Okay.
this identity, or you can generate your instance of identity and show it to the doors, access doors, etc. Okay, or you can present it to some person. He can verify it
Right.
using his device. Okay, he doesn't need
Right.
to know
Correct.
us. He doesn't need to know how your company's identity card should look like or where to look for the
Right.
tampering, etc. Right? And
Right.
if my identity is valid, that is, it is verified and validated, only then the server is sending my face, saying that this person should look like
Mm.
this. So there is no way I can tamper it. Okay. Now, tampering
Right.
brings to this point, like what if I tamper this identity? Okay, so now this is saying that this data set is consistent with the signature. Now What if I forge it? Okay, let's forge it and see. Okay, I update it. You see the
Right.
exclamation here? That is because
Yeah,
the data set is not matching the signature, right? Okay,
correct,
now if I go
correct.
ahead, try to forge my identity and generate an identity instance, this is what happens. Okay, you
Invalid.
see?
Correct.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
the data set is not matching the signature, right? And we are verifying it every single time. So there is no way
Right.
you can tamper it. Okay. So
Right.
because
Right.
the private key is with the company needs to issue the signature, right? And
Hmm.
through appropriate
Hmm.
channel that should be procured on my device. Only then I can have my identity provisioned, right? So
If I
yeah,
want to
now if
update the
I
information, then how will I do that?
so if it is if your information is updated at the employer's database, then there is a trigger which saying
Hmm.
that the signatures are updated. Then we just refresh the signature and we push the corresponding signatures on your device.
Okay. So if like my designation is changed, so that should happen at the employer's end. I cannot do it.
Correct, correct, correct. So that is the source of truth, right? Your HRMS or your AD, whatever
Right.
that is,
Correct.
that's the
Correct.
source of truth.
So that's
Okay?
why
So
it's
this
a
is something
association.
exactly, exactly. It's strictly based on association. So when you leave your organization, this shouldn't work. Okay, so validation should fail. Even if you have the signatures with you, the validation should fail. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
now how we achieve that? It is shown here. Okay, so your identity is combination of your signature, your basic information, okay, and
Correct.
we generate a token out of the seed and we take device fingerprint. When we send it to the server sees if this is a signature, what is the seed corresponding to it. We pick the seed, we generate a token, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and we verify the signature against the user info. Okay, so this hash means this data is present on the server device. Okay, which if
Okay.
there is no
Okay.
hash in front of it, it means server doesn't has this information. It is coming from the user. Okay, so user info is not with the server. It is coming from the user when user is
Mm-hmm.
submitting his identity factors. Okay, so yeah, so verification happens. We validate the token. Okay, now device fingerprint is used in Dust. So what is Dust? Dust is combination of the device fingerprint, the URL or
Okay.
the resource which the user want to access, and the
Uh-huh.
seed which is generated. Okay, or the token
Hmm.
which is generated from the seed. Okay, we just take a hash of it. Okay, and we generate the same Dust hash. Okay, then
Hmm.
we know that this data set is coming from the valid device. Okay, so
Right.
we do this so that even if someone is able to do SSL snip or SSL strip, okay,
Hmm.
the data is coming over SSL channel, but still TLS channels to be precise. If even if the data is coming over TLS channel, if someone is snipping it, he shouldn't be able to replay this information. Okay, or even
Hmm.
if he knows the device fingerprint, etc. So this data set is changing every instance for every different URL. It will be different every time. Okay, so you can't
Okay.
replay this. Okay? So if
Hmm.
everything is valid, then you will be given access to whatever uh, resources that you are requesting for. In the case
Correct.
where I demonstrated you, there it was. I had requested for the user space, okay, how the
Hmm.
users look
Hmm.
like. Okay?
Right.
So you can use this an as an identity uh, proof of identity as well when you are meeting person, or you can use it to access doors. Now, talking to the access doors, so the problem with today's existing identity is they are like RFID card like this. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
let me
Mm-hmm.
see what is being shown. Okay, so here is a card, an access card for Nullform, the conference that we do in Goa every year. Okay, now I will show you how simple it is to spoof someone's card. I have a tool called NFC tool. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, I'll just bring it here. Okay. So here is an NFC tool. So
Hmm.
I just scan it using my phone, and you can see I can clone the cards, right? So it's the same
Yeah.
way I can clone your identity cards, right? And I can enter
Right.
into your premises as you, because this is a
Hmm.
static. This card or the information on this is static. Okay. Uh, but the identity that we have is changing every instance. So no one can replay it.
Right.
Even if someone captures it, he can't replay it. Okay. So now when we are talking about the controls, so user can select this, whether he wants to save whatever data he's presenting, that should be saved on be someone else's device or not. Okay, so he has complete control on what data he's sharing. He just wants to prove that I'm associated with this company as in this designation, or he wants to share his email ID, phone number, or some social credentials, etc. So he has complete granular control on what he wants to share. Okay, you can have a couple of more data sets like your age, your blood group, etc. Right?
Right.
So today, when we use license, we disclose everything. When we show our license as an ID, we show our date of birth, we show our blood group, we show our address, we show everything, right?
Right. We
So
everything.
yeah. So this is very granularly controlled. Okay. Now this is identity in real world, how we can use it. Okay. Now talking about in digital world, how we will be using it, or for accessing applications. Here I have some applications. This is our sample dashboard. I will show
Okay.
you how we
Sure.
access our dashboards, etc. Okay, so all our applications that we have in house, we are accessing it passwordlessly. Okay, so here is a dashboard that we have in house. So we can access it regularly using our username or password. So this is sitting behind Okta. The service is behind Okta. So either you can use this, or what you can do is you can choose to make it access it without passwords. Okay.
Okay.
So it goes to Okta. It presents this. I will bring my phone in front. Okay. So here in my profile, I have Pure ID. Okay. And I have a facility called Swift login. Okay. So I will use this Swift login. I'll give my PIN, that is 1213. Okay. And now I scan it. So when I'm scanning it, so what I scan is the URL which I'm trying to access. Okay. My phone scans that URL. Okay, and sends this URL and all the factors, signature, user info, seed, my device fingerprints to the server. Now server verifies my ID, validates my ID, checks whether I'm authorized to access this, and if it is coming from the trusted device. Okay, if all the things are yes, only then I'm getting the access. Okay, if any one of the thing is no, I will not get access. Okay, and this is integrated with a popular SSO called Okta. Okay, so this is how we access our SSO. Now, this is a blockchain village. Okay, the CFP is open. I would like to request all the blockchain hackers here to submit if any cool research they have. Okay, so we manage our blockchain village emails through Zoho service. Okay, now if I will show you a negative case wherein so this is a blockchain village property emails, and I'm accessing it through Pure ID profile. Okay. Now if I okay, so okay. So what I'm doing is I'm scanning it. Okay. So now if I scan it, you see that I so it did allow me. Okay. It gave an error. Okay. That is because this is a blockchain property, and the profile I use is Pure ID profile. What I should do is I should use this blockchain village profile. Okay, so let's do that now. Okay, I will say email. I will use my blockchain village profile. I will do Swift login. Here the pin is different. Okay, so pin is 8888. I just scan it. I'm successful. Right. So now I can access my emails.
Right. Correct.
Right. So yeah. So I can access pretty much anything. These are like online applications. I can access the offline applications as well. Like if I want to access a Windows machine. Right? So we have made pretty much anything passwordless. Okay. So this machine is offline. Okay, this is offline. Okay, so this can't talk to authentication platform. So what we have is we have my public key derived out of my
Hmm.
profile. Okay, so you can see here's my public key. Okay, so
Oh,
the server has
okay.
the same public key. Okay, and now if I do SIP login, okay, this is blockchain village profile. This will not work. I will change my profile, pure ID profile. I'm saying login. Sorry, the pin is 1213, and I scan it. Okay, so the code is 3D2B, 3D2B, 3D, 3D2B. Okay, so there I go. Okay, I'm logged in.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, so I can log into anything, pretty much like I can log into Linux terminal. Okay, so now on Linux terminal, if I say SU, switch to
Mm-hmm.
user Ajit, it will ask me for password, but we have modified the PAM module of it. So it will ask me for my profile. Uh, it will ask me to scan using my profile. Okay, so here I scan it.
Okay.
So the code is
Mm-hmm.
6975, 6975, 6975. Okay, you see,
Mm-hmm.
my user is changed. So if
Yeah.
I do any privileged activity, if config, okay, so typically sudo asks for
Okay.
password, but we don't have passwords
Hmm.
yet. Okay, so we will
Right.
allow you offline, online, any way to log in, but not passwords. Okay, so if I scan
Not
it again
password,
now,
correct. So it will change again. Every time the session expires, it will change.
oh yeah, E13A, right? Now if I do
So you don't
SU
have to
say
remember the
Sagar,
password.
yeah, you don't have to. So if I say SU Sagar, so this is Sagar user. Okay, now
Okay.
if I scan it, sorry,
Okay.
the pin is
So
1213.
it will, if
Yeah,
you scan
you
it,
see login failed. Yeah, it says
yeah.
login failed because I don't have the corresponding key to access it, right? So I have
So,
keys only for me.
Ajit, we have a couple of questions which I'll take in between, and then we will again go
Sure.
to your, yeah. So, there is a question from Pratik. Is QR code based on TOTP to be invalidated after 20 seconds, or a blacklist of QR code used exactly once?
Okay, so TOTP, etc. That's a technology which is suitable to protect your passwords with the additional factor. Okay. So as I told you here, the QR to access any applications that I had demonstrated. Okay, not the QR which I showed when I was proving my identity to you. Okay, so these are two different QRs. Okay, the QR which I had accessed while accessing the applications, those are not TOTP or HTO, any OTP based, star OTP based protocols. Okay, so they are just links. Okay, they are just links. Yeah, they are just URL which I'm trying to access.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they are. If I show you another use case, yeah, I'm accessing my AWS console. Okay, so if you scan this QR, it is nothing but the URL which I'm trying to access. Okay, so and it has the socket ID. Okay, so there is a socket connection established between AWS console and this browser. Okay, so it is that socket ID. So when I'm submitting my credentials to the server, it verifies it and tells Amazon that the person listening on this socket or the session you should be provisioning on this socket is Ajit's session. Okay, so deliver.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Okay.
to answer your question, there is no TOTP in this QR. Okay. Whereas
Okay.
this QR, when I was proving my identity here, so when I generate this, uh, so that is a seed-based token. How we generate a seed-based token is we have a seed, secret seed. We hash it with timestamp. Once you hash it with timestamp, what you get is a token. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, So TOTP has similar implementation. It is little different than that. Okay, I might have mentioned it somewhere. To effect to a PRNG token, which is hash to time. Yeah. So it is seed with timestamp. Simple seed hash to time. That's it. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
More questions?
Right. Yeah. There are questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Let's take the questions. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. So, attendees, can you hear me, please? Can you hear us?
So
So
do we
we'll
have
take.
attendees or?
Yeah, we have attendees, but
Oh, okay.
there is
Brave.
some problem. So they are asking questions. There is one more question from Abhilash. So a user will
Uh-huh.
have different certificate for different devices. Can a certificate issued to a user be prevented from being taken out TPM TE?
Uh, so if I got the question correct, then a user can
Can
have
I
his
read it
profile.
one more time?
Yeah.
So a user will have a different certies for different devices. Can a certi issued to the user be prevented for being taken out of the devices?
Okay. So certificates are meant to be distributed. Okay. Certificates are not sensitive information. They are not private
Mhm.
keys. Certificate has public key. Okay. We don't have certificates over here. What we have is a signature. Okay, so by definition it's not public key, and we are sending signatures. Okay, it's not a sensitive information. What is sensitive is the token, the seed. Okay, so that seed goes into the key store or key ring on the device. Okay, based on what you are using, Android or Apple. So it will go in key store or key ring, and it can't be taken out apart from that same very application. Okay, no one else can take that out. So even if you are taking backup of your entire data on some other device, so you will get dump of that key, that seed or whatever information, but that will be encrypted. You won't be able to decrypt that. Okay.
Okay.
So yes, it goes into TPM, so you can't take it out, right? So that's the basic feature which all the phones provide. But uh, certificates are to be distributed. Okay, they are to be publicly distributed. So there is no point in trying to secure certificates.
Okay. So there is one more question by Chetan. So I think he's happy with the presentation, and he's asking, we saw few demo application, one of the Zoho Mail and also for Windows Linux. What are the changes required on server size Windows to enable such a active acceptance of pure ID?
Right. So we have modified the authentication mechanism on each of those systems that you have seen. For Linux, we have modified the PAM module, that is pluggable authentication module, so that it doesn't prompt you for password, but it shows a QR. Okay, and that QR is generated by generating a random string and encrypting it using your public key, right? Which you can decrypt only using a valid private key, right? So same goes with Windows, and for other all web-based applications, we provide SAML integration. Okay, so it's very easy to because we speak SAML. If any web application is speaking SAML or any cloud consoles are speaking SAML, it is straight away SAML integration. If your applications are not supporting SAML integrations, then we will write our custom integrations. Right? So we have an excellent team which does write a lot of integrations with WordPress, Joomla, etc. We have plugins for a lot many things. Right? Does that answer?
Sorry, there is some
I,
network issue at your side, I guess. I hope it's everything is fine. Okay, so there is
it's raining.
uh,
It's raining heavily.
yeah. Mm. Do you have any integration for SAP, Deep
Yeah.
Shankar?
Yes. So there are a lot of SAP modules which support SAML 2, and all of those SAML 2 supported SAP applications, we give them ready integration.
Okay, so there is one more question by Professor Sule. How strong is the PR code generator in terms of key length and IV? Is any standard PR generator used in your application, or is that a secret?
So what PR generation? What is PR?
Pseudo random.
Pseudo random number generated where with the seed that we are
Yeah,
using.
with the seed. With the seed, right? Correct.
Okay, it's not secret. Okay, so how we generate seed? Generate the token that I have already told. It is timestamp hashed with the seed that we have. Okay,
Okay.
hash is 256 bits long, and we just take what we need out of the length of that.
Okay. So now when we are talking about this solution, you have used the cryptographic algorithm only for the signature. So can we change that algorithm for the signature, or it is fixed that ECC you have to use, and you know?
So as of now, we are using ECC. Okay, but why do you want to change that? So, I mean, if we
No, I
have
mean
better
just you know,
algorithms, yeah. So even
because
in
if you
case, go ahead.
So if we will talk about ECC, then ECC is like it has a trapdoor. I mean, some keys are weak, and you know that NIST is like some articles I read, and there they are saying that the ECC is not suitable and it has a trapdoor. So are we trying to? If you wanted to change that, can we do that?
Okay, so ECC, DRBG, etc. When you are generating pseudo random bits, etc. So in that case, backdoors are there. Okay, we are not using ECC for that. We are using
Okay.
ECC for DSA keys, CDSA keys, right? It's the same keys which are also used by blockchain. That is SEC
Hmm.
256 PK1 curve is what we are using. Okay, and yeah, so even if you can reverse, you can do whatever. Okay, even if you guess the private key, etc. Our security is not dependent on the private key.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your security is not dependent on the private key. It's just for the authentication that you're
Yes.
using, right?
Right.
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 Okay.
We can discuss it more in details as we progress further. Right.
So, like, what is the proposed method is beneficial for the enterprise? How it is beneficial?
Okay. So how it is beneficial is one. We drastically reduce our attack surface. Okay, because I can walk you through the problems. Okay, so
Yeah,
passwords
please.
are inherently very big problem for enterprises. It's inconvenient for users. They have to change it, remember it. They don't have to reuse it. Nowadays, people use. There was a survey which says that people use around 27 different services, and for security reasons you should have unique passwords for each of them, and which is not possible. People tend to use the passwords, and the recent
Right.
example of an academy, many corporate users were using an academy service, and they had created their logins with the corporate emails, and if they had used the same passwords which they were using in the company, then it's gone. So
Yeah.
right, people tend to reuse it, right? It's very
Right.
inconvenient for
Right.
them, right? And there are various
Right.
avenues from where users can leak their passwords. It's hard for
Mm,
enterprise to govern and securely manage them. Plus, it
mm.
increases the complexity. Okay, because to secure your passwords, okay, you have to do a lot of things. Okay, passwords just increase your attack surface by many folds. Okay, when users are using passwords, then there are a lot of attacks which they are susceptible to, like phishing. You can't solve this by 2FA or multi-factors. Okay, phishing is a very big problem. If you see our solution, it is totally phishing proof. You can't phish our solution. Okay. People
Okay.
tend to reuse it. Your passwords might be cached. That cache might be leaked, right? Passwords are logged. If you are using untrusted machine, and if you are logging from that untrusted machine, your passwords might be sniffed, logged, right? People tend to share the passwords. That is a big governance issue, right? People share the password so that their colleagues can do a proxy for them, which is again a creates a big issue with the attribution, etc., or accountability, right? People tend to insecurely store their passwords. Okay, on the network, you have these many attacks. Okay, these are few attacks to name. And then on server side, whenever you are taking the user's untrusted input, bringing it to server to compare it with whatever you have in database, you are taking a risk every time, and you try to filter that out, all the injections. Okay, there might be a chance where someone can evade those filters, right? So you are taking that risk every time. No matter how well you train your admins, there are issues. They will store the passwords in insecure way. Okay, so even though we think that storing password with hash and sorted hash is a common sense, but that's not practiced. Okay, Facebook, Instagram, uh, Twitter, Robinhood, all these big companies, they had persistent history of storing passwords insecurely in plain text. Okay, passwords are dumped, okay, through the logs, caches, etc., debug logs, or if there are crashes, right? So passwords are dumped. Okay, if there are malwares in your machine on one machine, say, then the malware will snip the user's keys and it will try to log in into the multiple servers, and from that server or from different machine in the network, it will try to do the same, snip the passwords and try to spread across, right?
Right.
So especially the mask ATP, since the mask ATP, it started stealing the credentials and the keys, right? So malwares and ATPs are very notorious. So you have huge attack surface to protect, okay? And you can't protect it with all these measures that you have, OTP and SMS. Now the banks are in UK are moving away from OTPs because they are not effective against the phishing attacks. Plus, there are swim SAP attacks, or people are gullible to give away their OTPs, right? 2FA, etc. Again, not phishing proof. Plus, many administrators, they co-locate the passwords, username, and the seeds. Okay, so if there is a breach, then everything is breached, right? And plus, you have to carry your tokens. So if it is a key-based token, if it is phone, then it's fine. If it is key-based token, you have to carefully carry them. You often tend to lose them or mix it with the others, right? Biometrics are not good solution, not at all. No matter how sophisticated biometric detection mechanism you have, but if your biometric factors are leaked from the server side, it's gone. Okay, you have only one thumb, right hand thumb. You have only one face. Okay, so if a company which is storing your biometric factors, if it loses it, you're gone. Okay, everywhere
So
that
can
you
you
use your
elaborate a little
biometrics.
more on it?
Yeah, so there are many passwordless systems which use biometrics, right? Even your Aadhaar uses your thumb. Okay, your passport, your visa office, they all have your thumb impression, right? So if those factors are leaked, then everywhere where you are using your thumb, right hand thumb as your identity or authentication factor, all those can be compromised, right? So people are becoming more aware of their privacy and their personal data, and we will be seeing people moving away from biometrics, though it's very convenient, but it's not secure. So you can't prevent someone holding my phone up against my face to unlock my phone, okay? Or if I'm not aware, not conscious, anyone can take my thumb and put on my phone and unlock it, right? No matter how
Right.
sophisticated algorithms you have, but someone can use them
Correct.
against me, against my
Correct.
wish, right? So biometrics
Right.
always have that threat, right? So when we were designing this authentication mechanism, we said that we will not be using any of these magic links, etc. So this is good for online mechanism. You have to be online, okay? And it's the same thing. If your email, that email on which you are receiving the link is compromised, you're gone, right? Social identity, again, single point of failure. This has been already discussed. So yeah, plus whatever applications you are trying to access, your social identity provider will be tracking it, right? So if you don't want that, you should be using some other ways of authentication, right? So we try to mitigate all this risk. We eliminate all these factors, and what we provide to an enterprise is an breach resilient authentication mechanism. So what we mean by breach resilient is, so even if there is a breach at any party which is involved in the authentication, you are still safe. You don't have to worry about it. Okay, so that's what we mean by breach resiliency, and this is what we offer. Okay, so this is a trademark thing. Breach resiliency is what is unique to our solution. Now, if you see what we are using to authenticate users is signature, user info, seed, and device signature. Okay, so based on their sensitivity, we have given weightage. Signature, even if you get the signature, you will be able to decrypt it using the public key. What you get is a hash. What that hash points to, don't know, right? So this is
Right.
least sensitive. User information is sensitive. Okay, the username or email ID, etc. Right, that is sensitive. Seed are very sensitive because we use them to check your validity. Device signature
Right.
are again sensitive, right? So these are the factors which we use to authenticate you. User's device has all of these factors on his phone. Okay, so he has a total score of 15. Right now, the
Right.
application in which I'm trying to log in, okay, it just gets my username, that is Ajit, or my email
Correct.
ID, right? So it has it doesn't have any of the other factors to regenerate my identity. Okay, so if there is any breach at the application side, so there is no credential cached, right? So it only gets to see my user ID. That's it. So it can't abuse that, right? Now, authentication platform that we have, this is a cloud platform. Now, if you see, we have the signatures here. Okay, we have the seeds here
Correct.
because we provision you the seeds, right? We have the device
Right.
signature, but we don't know whose signature or whose seeds are these. Okay, we don't have that
Right.
information, right? So
Right.
even if we want to abuse this information, we can't. If we are breached, okay, all the hacker is getting is all of these, okay. But what to do with these, what this person is able to achieve with these credentials, he doesn't know, right?
Doesn't
Now
know. Right.
coming to organization, yeah, organization just has signature because they sign it using the private key. Users
Correct.
information is in their HRMS, right? So they have these two factors, but they don't have the seed, neither they have the device credentials, right? So
Right.
even they can't forge the identity. Or if the organization is breached, uh, uh, there are no passwords and there are no additional factors which someone can use to reconstruct an identity of his user and abuse the service, right?
Right.
So yeah, so even if there's a breach or there is a rogue admin inside or there is an accidental leakage of the information, right? You don't have to worry, your services will not be abused. Okay, so this is what we are
Okay.
offering with our solution. Okay, it's a very
Mhm.
robust breach resilient architecture that we are providing.
So it is spread everywhere. It's not, there is no central data server, or where you are storing all your information and somebody can get into this and hack the information. So it is
Correct,
spread
correct, correct.
among different identities.
Yes, and that's what our patent is. So we have filed patent for this
Oh,
application.
great.
Okay,
Okay, great,
and
great.
yeah, we are on our track to get it.
hmm So is there any
So
advantage to the employee, or like how it is? We can say that is there any advantage to the employees?
yeah, so employees have an advantage that they don't have to remember their passwords, okay, or
Mm-hmm.
they don't have the threat of reusing the passwords, right? So
Mm-hmm.
even if there is a breach, they don't have to worry about. Okay, so it's
Okay.
very convenient for them when they are using this passwordless technology. They don't have to remember. Plus, he doesn't have a threat that if someone guesses the type of password
Mm-hmm.
I keep, the pattern of my password, okay, if there is a rogue admin who can use my password on my behalf and log in into a system and abuse it, okay, so that threat is not there for the employee.
Okay. So where this scheme can be deployed, like what kind of is there any specific enterprise set of enterprise, or you anybody can avail this service?
So anybody who thinks passwords are threat for them, okay, so they can
Mm-hmm.
use it. Okay, some
Okay.
very good use cases. We are working with some companies like
Okay.
executives or the advisors. So advisors of financial institutions, they are on board of multiple financial institutions, right? Now they have access to financial reports, critical reports, etc., which are very sensitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if these executives, if they tend to reuse the passwords at multiple organizations, and one of the admin who doesn't store the passwords properly and can see his password, he comes to know what his passwords are at other places, and he can compromise them, right? So it's better you just don't have passwords. right? So there is
Don't
no
have
question of
password.
reusing. Yeah. So there are many use cases. Many companies, they are seeing that if they can use it for support accounts, right? Now, every company gives their vendor one access, one support account. So vendors can use that support account to log in into these organizations, provide the support, okay, troubleshooting or whatever, log gathering, etc., and they can disconnect. Okay. Now this is one account and it is shared between multiple of their support agents, right?
Hmm.
Now the
Hmm.
password is known to multiple support agents. Now if someone is leaving, then you should change the password,
Correct.
right? So you have to coordinate with all and update them that this password has changed. Or if one of them resets the password of that support
Hmm.
account, okay, and goes, now no one knows what the password is, right? So you have to ask the organization to reset the password, etc.
Right.
So those are the hassles. And one more thing is the compliance issue or the governance issue. If there are multiple admins who are sharing the same password to a common
Hmm.
support account or say a root console account, right? Now the password is with three of them or four of them. Now who is accessing what and when? Keeping track of that becomes difficult. Okay. In our case,
Correct.
it's passwordless, but total accountability is maintained. Okay. That
Hmm.
using this signature, someone has accessed this account at this time. Okay. Now this signature is owned by who? Organization knows. We don't know. Okay, we
Right.
can say that these signatures were involved in this login. Okay, this is, you see, privacy at the highest level. Okay, so
Right.
even if we give you the logs, even if I can see the logs that these are signatures, I don't know whose signatures are this. Only an organization can match the signature. Okay,
Hmm.
and they will
Hmm.
only match the one signature in question. Okay,
Right.
not all everyone's signature. Okay, now in today's scenario, you get all users' name saying that all of these users have been accessing this and that, right?
Hmm.
In our
Hmm.
case, you will get the log of all the signatures accessing anything, but you will be getting just one signature in question, that this user, we have to see when and where he had logged in. So you just take his signature and we will try to search that in the log. Okay, so you,
Okay.
unless it is required, you won't be getting information of any other users, right? So this is
Hmm.
fully privacy compliant. You're not using any of your personally identifiable information to verify our users. Plus, we are providing you full governance, full compliance, right? Anytime
Hmm.
a user is leaving, we just get a trigger from HRM saying that disable these signatures, we disable it,
Okay.
right?
Okay. So
So
there are a couple of questions from this audience.
yeah,
How it will stop phishing and sniffing?
phishing and sniffing. Okay, sniffing we can't stop. Even if someone sniffs us, okay, he won't be able to reuse the credentials. Okay, somewhere
Hmm.
else he can't replay it because this is the dynamic credentials that you are sending. Okay. Phishing, you are not entering any username or passwords or OTP or two-factor,
Hmm.
so there is no question of being phished, right?
Right. There is one more question. Is Pure ID cloud only solution or also on premise? If cloud, what assure you can give that it would not be compromised or tampered?
Okay,
Chetan.
so yeah, so this PureNoth platform that we have, yeah, it is cloud-based. Okay, as I told you, this is a totally breach-resilient architecture that we have. Okay, so
Hmm.
even if I give you, hey, these are the factors that we have on cloud, take it and abuse it. Okay, you won't be
Okay.
able to abuse it, right? So yeah, tampering, etc. happens. So that's the reason we maintain redundancy in the cloud. Okay, it can be deployed on premise if you want. Have it on your premise, have it on your cloud. So it can be deployed anywhere. Okay, we
Anyway.
just route the authentication request to yeah, wherever it is supposed to go. Authentication will happen. Granting of the access will happen. Yeah. So it's a very modular. We can place it, move it around anywhere that we want.
Okay. So there is
Right?
one
But
more
it is
question.
meant to be breached. It is meant to be breached. Okay, we know that cloud vendor will have a dump of it. Okay, it will be very hard to remove all the backup instances from anywhere. Okay, that's the reason we have designed it in such a way. Even if you get this data, it's useless for you. Okay, we not all the factors are co-located, right? So you can't use that information, right?
Right, correct. So can you elaborate on 2FA co-located seeds, Mr. Dilip
Okay,
Chandra?
okay, fine. So You have username, you have passwords, and you have seeds. Using these seeds, you generate token. Okay, so that is time-based or it is counter-based token, which is a dynamic factor, which is always changing, right? So this two-factor is meant to protect your username and password. Even if someone guesses my username and password, and no matter how many tokens which I am sending, he's able to see. He won't be able to guess what is the next token, right, at that point of time. Okay, so that's how token security works. If you co-locate them, okay, if you keep username, passwords, and the seeds at the same location, okay, then you will be using username, password, and the seed. So with seed, I can generate the tokens, right? And I can log in. Okay, so they shouldn't be co-located, but many admins they do that. It's not a good practice to co-locate them. Administrators are well aware that passwords are very sensitive, so they will take all the care to hash it, salt it, etc., etc. Right? But then seed, they don't have the same kind of sensitivity associated with that. So admins tend to be a bit careful of, with the seeds, right? So they might leak seeds, not the passwords. Okay, that even that might happen. They are so secretive about the passwords, but maybe a little careless with the seeds. So seeds are again very secret and private things, so they shouldn't be handled carelessly. Okay, so yeah, if you co-locate them and if you leak, then that's a big issue. If you don't co-locate them, there is a degree separation, then that is good. But then again, it doesn't protect you from phishing. Okay, and again, if there is one account that has to be accessed by 3 or 4 people, right? Then that sheet has to be shared with everyone. Okay, which doesn't works in that way, right? So 2FA fails if there is a shared account with multiple users. Okay, so what we offer when we are taking away the passwords, what we offer is 5-factor authentication. Okay, so you have seen every time I was accessing a service, I had to give my PIN to unlock the profile, right? So that is something what you know. Okay, what you have is my phone. So we learn the device fingerprints. Who knows you? That is defined by the signatures. My employer signs my signatures. That's what makes me entitled to access my corporate resources. Okay, uh, and plus we make the entire identity non-replayable by adding a 2FA. Okay, and who you are, that is in some cases where we show the face. Okay, that is for accessing your premises or showing your identity to people. Okay, so that is how you look, and this is optional, who you are. So your device is unlocked by your biometrics. We don't have any control on this. Users, they can have their face, their thumb, or whatever. Okay, we are not concerned about this, but this again comes into play when you are unlocking your phone. So we are uh, giving you all these authentication factors in just one simple scan of QR code. Okay, so this is as secure as it can get.
So there is one more question by Asma. Where is the mapping of user info and pure authentication data stored? What if mapping leaks?
Yeah, as I told you, if I show you, we don't have any mappings of the users and the signatures with us. We don't have it. Okay, it's the organization that has it. Okay, yeah. So user, HRMS, and pure auth. Okay, so user gives us information when he is joining to the HRMS. So your information is here. Okay, and what organization does is it signs this basic information with private key and just sends us the signature. So we don't have any user information. We don't know who the signature belongs to. Okay, and whenever an employee is being separated, we get a request saying that revoke the signature. We just disable that signature. We don't know whose signature it is.
Okay.
So there is no mapping. There is no question of leakage from our
There
side.
is no mapping. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even if the
So
mapping is neat, you need all the other factors to authenticate or abuse someone's identity. Okay. So yeah, it is difficult.
so I would like to ask the last question. When you are talking about the cryptography, and it is like cryptography is involved, can quantum computers become threat to your scheme?
Okay. So if I'm in business of authentication, I don't have to worry about the quantum post-quantum cryptography scenario because
Okay.
I'm authenticating an user every instance. I'm not storing something. I'm not encrypting and storing something, right? I'm authenticating a
Right.
user every instance. Number one.
Right.
Okay. Number two, what will happen even if the quantum computers are realized? What bad can happen? What can go wrong? Okay. At the max, what can happen is my company's private key will be compromised,
Hmm.
right? So what capability that offers you? Okay, so you can sign some credentials, okay, or you can sign
Right.
someone's, you can create someone's signature, okay. That signature has to go into a valid device, okay. That has to
Hmm.
match with the valid seed, okay, and then you have to generate an identity instance, okay, and then that should come through your platform, okay, and we should have again matching signature or a forced signature with us, okay. Only then you
Hmm.
will be
Hmm.
authenticated,
Hmm.
right? So
Right.
so two things you can do is one, you want to abuse the existing user's profile, then you need to have the other factors on your phone or in your control, which you don't
Hmm.
have. You just have
Correct.
a private key, you can just create signatures, right? Now, if you want to create a fresh new identity to abuse, okay, so then you have to push that signature on our cloud,
Right.
right? So that we accept only from the designated organization from the designated IP. There are restrictions,
Correct.
okay? You can't
Correct.
uh, inject identity from anywhere, okay? It won't happen.
Right.
Plus, with that identity, you have to have email IDs and phone numbers, etc. provisioned, okay? And you
Hmm.
need to have a signature with that. Now, if you are using
Hmm.
these things, okay, so we are sending verification code on email and phone number. You are submitting back.
Hmm.
It means you have
Hmm.
access to that, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so again, you are creating a trail for yourself. If you, by any remotest possibility, if you are still able to uh, inject a fake identity into us, we have verified it that we can access you using this phone and this email, right?
Right.
So you can't create
Hmm.
an email or enterprise email without proper privileges. You can just
Hmm.
crack a private key, but you can't create an identity and use that identity successfully. Okay,
Correct.
so
Correct.
we are
So there
not
is no
worried
effect
about
of
no
quantum.
effect whatsoever. Before quantum computer comes to reality, we have more bigger threats that an admin can run away with the private key or he can lose our private key, right? He can abuse the private key, right? So quantum is a long shot. I have to worry about the current and more practical threats, right?
Right. Right.
So
Correct.
yeah, so
So
let
any
the
closing
elites.
thoughts?
Yeah,
So any
so
closing
let the
thoughts on?
elites worry about the quantum thing. That's what I want to say. Yeah. So any more questions if you have, we can take. Otherwise, yeah, I'm done. I like the questions
Yeah.
that we had. Question
Yeah.
helped me to
So
bring better things out of the presentation. Yes.
right. Correct. So audience are always awesome in our show, and they keep on asking so many questions, interesting questions. So that keeps the topic evolved, and we come up with different ideas where this topic is leading. So thank you so much, Ajit, for your time. I hope all the attendees are gratified with today's topic and the discussion on the passwordless identity. Dear attendees, thank you so much for your participation and interaction with the speaker. We will come up with more such an inspiring innovation in the next episode, so stay tuned. Until next time, stay safe, stay secure. This is Shravani signing off. Bye, Ajit.
Thank you. Thanks. Bye. Thank you all. Thanks a lot. Bye. Take care.